Well, we're pleased to have Chris Robley here. Uh, Thanks to Michael Roth, who introduced us to Chris. But Chris is a pretty experienced songwriter and also a published poet. And he's now with BandLab, and he might explain what he's doing with BandLab. But he spent 15 years with CD Baby and created the DIY Musician podcast and was editor of the DIY Musician blog, and got to know a lot of musicians across the country. And now he's with BandLab and is educating artists and in the ecosystem of the music world and helping them with their skills and make good music and reach the right listeners and all that good stuff about the business of music. And he's going to be talking about that sort of thing tonight. And so I want to present Chris Robley.
Hello. Yeah, thanks for having me. I am a songwriter and a poet, and a lot of other things, like probably many of you, wearing many hats. Professionally, I've recently taken a job at BandLab. It was about 3 months ago. And BandLab's a really pretty groundbreaking platform where the creation of music and the sharing of music in a social way is baked into the same tools and platforms. So it enables almost instant global collaboration because everything is stored in the cloud. It's like having Pro Tools in the cloud that you don't need to Dropbox, or file management is completely a non-issue. So you can work with people all over the world. You can even share tracks that you've produced to a certain point and then have other people make many different variations. They take your sessions, and so it's a way of taking kind of one project, one song, one recording, and then ending up with infinite options, basically. It gets a lot of praise for electronic music and hip hop, pop music, but it is an amazing app for singer-songwriters because there's an AI tool where you can take a single sound source, maybe something you recorded as a voice memo or just a single microphone recording, and it can split the tracks, your voice and a guitar or whatever it might be, onto separate tracks that you can treat separately with different effects, and then build a actual proper recording from what maybe began as a demo. But you probably all know that feeling of like you just mean to capture the idea, but it actually has some cool vibe and you never quite capture it again, as magical as it was on the voice demo. Well, now you can just use the voice memo and kind of spruce it up from there. So that's what BandLab is. Prior to that, I was at CD Baby for 18 years. I ran the podcast and their blog for 15 years. And went through a lot of changes at CD Baby. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but it was kind of a groundbreaking distributor for independent artists to be able to sell their CDs. So at the beginning, it was sort of a glorified e-commerce solution for musicians who had no access to the marketplace. And then over the years, since I started, it opened up to downloads, then to streaming, sync licensing, a bunch of other stuff. And I mention all that history at my previous job because as I observed all these new, little revolutions in the music industry and in music consumption, with a little bit of hindsight, they all kind of made sense. It was just about improving speed and convenience, from physical to downloads to streaming. Everything was, on a certain logical trajectory until in 2020, we partnered with TikTok and sent our catalog there. And that was the first massive change in music consumption that really shocked me. It surprised me. I didn't see it coming. And I still, I've made sense of it in a way, but I still find it shocking. And I realized that I find it shocking because I'm a very 20th century artist. That's like my sense of artistry is based in that like 19th and 20th century thing of like, I'm the lone genius and I disappear for 4 years to make my masterpiece. It's a mystery to you. You don't see the process, so that now when I come back out of hiding and reveal it, you can be awed. And my job is to make, and your job is to consume and to adore and hopefully pay me. And I think those days for the average creator, the average musician are probably gone. I don't know if it's gone forever. It seems that there's always a pendulum, but we're in a moment where the 21st century artist, the social creator, is one who is constantly gesturing towards participation in a strange way. I'll talk a little bit about that. In some ways, I feel like it's very authentic and it's an actual invitation to participate. In some ways, I feel like it's posturing and kind of a bunch of BS. But if that works to get people's attention and to make them feel like they're excited about the content or the song, great. But yeah, I mean, social media, social networking, social platforms, the word itself implies that creators aren't alone. They're not lone geniuses. They're part of a social community. And Brian Eno, if you're familiar with his term genius, I don't know if anyone's heard him talk about that. It's the idea of genius, the lone successful person. And he likes to believe that all of those individual instances of success come from scenius, which is the genius of a group of people. There's always a scene, whatever it is, a geographic scene, a musical scene, where there's lots of great ideas and creativity, excitement, newness happening. And then, of course, a few individuals break out of that. But that in paying attention to the wisdom and the excitement and the creativity of the group of people, this term that Brian Eno had of genius is actually, with social media, is reaching this global scale where these geographic boundaries are broken down for people to be able to collaborate and contribute to the advancement of certain genres. And at the same time, I want to acknowledge also that most people watching TikTok or Instagram are not participating. Like, they're sitting on their couch and they're binging for 10 minutes or 2 hours or whatever it is. And so again, it has this air of participation, but really the participation is still in the hands of those who are, I don't know, who have the idea to jump in, who have the bravery, sometimes it's bravery with a good idea, sometimes it's bravery with a stupid idea, but the ones who are motivated to contribute to this online genius that's happening. The other thing that I think defines the modern social creator is that the process is the product. And again, this kind of goes back to not disappearing forever to make your masterpiece. What people want to see now is I want to see you making it in real time. How did you do it? We seem to be obsessed on social platforms with, how do you make that recipe in the kitchen? How did you build that bridge? It's all the the nuts and bolts, the nitty gritty. And I think that actually opens up some cool opportunities for musicians who can now talk about, here's why I wrote this song. Here's what this verse means. Here's why, didn't rhyme here. Whatever tricks in your songs that you're proud of, you can talk about that for 30 seconds or a minute or 10 minutes on these platforms. And there will be people who take an interest. And the more I sort of consume that stuff, the more it feeds it to me. But it's recording tricks, songwriting tricks, all sorts of stuff. So I think that's one good side of this, and we can all participate as songwriters in offering our wisdom and our tricks. Another, I mentioned kind of the collaboration that happens on BandLab, but with TikTok and Instagram, you can do this thing called duets. I'm sure you've all seen them, where one person makes a video and then someone else says, I like that, I'm going to add to it. So it could be they're going to make a skit where they're joking back to the original video, or musically it could be that someone creates a cool beat and then they say, hey, add to this, and then someone does a violin solo, and then someone takes that and then adds a vocal, and suddenly you have this thing that's like a snowball effect of creativity. That feels like a very real participatory gesture. And then things like fan polling, I don't love this, but you can ask your fans, what should I do with this? What should I, should I play here? What should I do for the second verse? I'm still wrestling with that one. I kind of like the idea of songwriters doing what they do and then inviting some participation. But let's see. And then I wanted to mention some of the ways in which I think there's a bit of posturing and BS in the realness. You may see a lot of I have some example videos I'll show, and a lot of them feel like, oh, you've caught me in the middle of a field. Well, no, I didn't. You went out there on purpose with a microphone and a camera to do this thing. So maybe I shouldn't call it BS that's done, because it is the very thing that catches people's eye and invites them into listening to the song. But you kind of have to be aware, of course, this isn't just some magical moment. Most of the content that's performing well is very intentionally shot and produced, even though it's made to look like it was accidental. oh, we just happen to be on this fishing boat in the middle of the Atlantic with our guitars. Yeah, right. So as I'm talking about this, I don't know if you're all feeling like allergic to any of these trends. I certainly do sometimes. But if you think, oh, I'm never going to make videos like that, I'm never going to jump on these particular memes or whatever, that's all fine. Like, gesturing towards participation can be as simple as sharing a music video or sharing a performance of one of your songs as is, don't change anything about it. But instead of the caption being, here's my latest song, it's on Spotify, the caption could be, have you ever felt like this? That's simply asking the person to unmute the song so they can hear it and say, no, I've never felt like that, or yes, I have, or here's a song for this type of person, or this is a song about, the kind of stuff you'd probably say in the banter when you're playing at one of your concerts. If it's relevant to the song, that's probably a great caption. And thinking of a caption as an invitation is sometimes, I think, enough. Just real quickly, I'll say, beware the stunts and the memes and the viral moments and the trends that you might see. There's a tendency for new people who hop onto TikTok or Instagram to follow the trends first for the quick attention. And it's a really dangerous thing to do. I have a friend, Alice Howe, who's a great singer-songwriter, and I was helping her do some marketing. And her musical collaborator is a guy named Freebo. And they set up this video where she's in a car and Freebo drives up next to her. And for most people watching, they don't know that they know each other. It just looks like a guy pulling up next to her. And he's like, hey, roll down your window. So she rolls down her window. As she does that, he's rolling his up and he takes off. And it's really funny. It maybe takes 5-10 seconds to watch. Has nothing to do with her music. And it got many, many millions of views. And she called me kind of panicked, like, how am I going to follow this up? And I said, well, I have two answers. One is to try this similar idea. And second, don't follow it up. It has nothing to do with your music. None of those people that liked it, or very few of those people that gave you attention in that way, know you're an artist, care that you're an artist, or ever going to enjoy your songs. It's the wrong audience. So she did try the other idea. It flopped. It's my fault. It's a bad idea. But then she said, oh, I have to let that attention go. The problem with getting that kind of massive attention for the wrong reasons is it confuses the algorithms about who should really be seeing and hearing your songs. So in a way, the more you can lean into your own personality, your niche, even like a hyper niche. Sometimes I like to invent really ridiculous examples to illustrate the point. But if you write songs about Viking recipes and how to cook them in space in a zero gravity environment, like, that's amazing. And you think no one would ever want to listen to that. I guarantee tens of thousands of people around the world would definitely want to listen to that music. And on TikTok and Instagram that have reach of billions of people, you can find tens of thousands of people to fall in love with your very weird niche thing. So the more you can lean into that, the better sometimes. And don't just chase the easy attention. Let's see here. I guess that's really just a way of saying get the right listeners there for the right reasons, even if that means it's fewer listeners, because it's quality over quantity, which is the same thing as Spotify algorithms, that kind of attention you want to get for your music there as well. People tell you to beware like playlist pitching services that just drive a bunch of passive listening. You want active listeners. So does all this mean that we have lost the song and the art that's at the heart of this, and it's all just short attention span theater or whatever? I think on the surface, yes, but really no, because the more I've gotten familiar with Instagram and TikTok, I have found full-length performances of beautiful songs that are very stripped down, just voice and guitar, no frills, no stunts, nothing like that, and it's still reaching people. And because of how well those algorithms and how quickly they get at knowing what you like, sometimes I think Instagram and TikTok can be the best use of your time at finding new listeners. Which I guess I probably should have said at the beginning of this whole thing. The reason I'm talking about social is because it's the way people are discovering things now. So if you want to grow your fan base, that's really kind of where you should be putting your effort. If you don't want to do, if you're not trying to grow your audience a bunch and you just are happy to play to whoever's at your gigs, that's fine too. You definitely don't need to hop on here. But if you're trying to seriously reach an audience, TikTok and Instagram is the place to be. And let's see. So I have a bunch of examples I pulled. I'll go through them as quick as I can. But if anyone wants to know in more detail, like how to position these things, not just to get attention, but then to follow up with advertisements or a marketing funnel that then gets that attention onto your email list or to Spotify or to buy merch or whatever. I can talk through some of the mechanics of marketing funnels in a Q&A or another time if you want. But really what I wanted to do is show a bunch of examples of Instagram videos so that it inspires you, gets you excited, or maybe gives you some ideas. Or if you are allergic, as I said, maybe this can just clarify some of your allergies and say, I definitely will never do that. I won't do that. I won't do that. Maybe I'll do that. So, you know, if your lane is this small, that's fine. At least now you know what it is and you can kind of get to work in a creative way. Before I play any videos, does anyone have questions? Should I pause here?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. You said earlier that BandLab has a way to separate music from a voice. Did I hear you right?
Yeah, so it's a tool, it's an AI tool called Splitter. It's within the BandLab app, which is a mobile app. You can get it on Android or an iPhone.
So is that
So-
what they used on Now and Then?
Exactly. I mean, it's not this, it's similar technology. Yeah. They exactly. So they, on the Beatles song that just came out today, they had John Lennon's piano and his voice, and the piano was too loud. So they, and I think there was a bunch of tape hiss as well, but
They stripped the voice out of the piano. basically.
yeah,
Yeah. They
yeah, it's
couldn't-
exactly that.
So you can strip out a vocal and just leave the music.
Yep. So if you had it can be a, you know, a stereo wave file, let's say, if that's what you, but if all you have is a voice memo with you, guitar and a voice, you feed it into this thing called Splitter, and it can split out as many as four, I think it's 4 tracks. So, you know, if there was bass, drums, guitar, whatever, voice, it split them. On your standard demo voice memo, it just gives you the acoustic guitar and the voice. Then you can add reverb, compression, different effects separately, however you want. You can auto tune the voice, which for me sometimes is like, I never meant this to go anywhere. I was just a demo, but I kind of do like the vibe. Oh, but those few notes are out. So yeah.
So this doesn't have to be on separate tracks. You know, like, you know, you got a voice track, you got a drum track, you got a guitar. It could all be one, but it managed to separate it out.
Yep, exactly. Which I have no idea how it works, technically
Yeah.
speaking, but it's amazing.
It's amazing to me that think that they can do that, but
Yeah.
sounded pretty good on Now and Then.
Yeah.
But that voice also was highly processed too. You can hear it's highly processed with other things in it. So
I thought it worked in that instance because it's like he was probably going to process his voice anyways with some slap back and some, you know, it ended up sounding like John Lennon, even though
yeah,
you can tell they had to do a lot of tricks.
yeah, it was his voice, no doubt. But yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I thought that was amazing. Yeah, amazing. I
Um,
can remember in the old days when they used to strip a voice off of the tracks so that you could sing to it for karaoke, and you
mhm.
could always hear a little bit of the voice in the background, you know, kind of real low.
The
Mhm.
Thompson vocal eliminator.
Yeah, exactly. That's what that was, a vocal eliminator. Thank
That
you.
was taking a stereo image and kicking out the stereo to where it's left or mono or opposite that. And if your vocals were in stereo at the end, just like hitting a mono button on a board, the voice might disappear if it's in stereo.
Mm.
And that was the thing, but it never worked with the shit.
No, it didn't.
Just kind of sounded phasey or something. That did, when you mentioned that though, it reminded me of another use of the BandLab Splitter tool, which is that I think a lot of acoustic musicians, singer-songwriters don't necessarily think about remixes. You just think, oh, my song's done, here it is. But with Splitter, you can feed a track, you know, even a finished recording you've put out into it, get those separate stems, those separate isolated tracks, and then just put them on your website or wherever and say, hey, if anyone wants to use these elements in a remix, well, now they can take just your vocals and put their electronic music to it or whatever else they want to do. But it's a real pretty easy and instant way to get those stems made if you want to explore people remixing.
Or you could just take the music and put another voice to it.
Yeah, exactly. You want someone else to sing your song,
Yeah.
sing different melody. Yeah, all that. Yeah. Well, I'll try to breeze through a bunch of these video examples I have. This first one, well, let me say first, every single one of these examples except one shares something in common that I won't mention, and maybe at the end you can take a guess, or maybe you'll have figured it out. But it is, I think, the most important element in what works on social. So I'll save it to the end. Every video except one has it. This first video, I think, sets a very high bar, and I'm playing it because I think most people will see it and say, I can never do that. I'm not going to do it. Not interested. That's fine. Then I'll follow it up with one that's way more low key.
But just never wiser. Midnights become my afternoons.
So he goes through the whole song and loops a bunch of stuff and keeps the stunt, how it's made, quality going. A few things why I think this works. Oh, and I should also say every single one of these videos is something Instagram put in my feed because, not accidentally, because they thought I would like it. I always have either my phone muted or the volume down. So every single one of these caught my eye before it caught my ear and made me want to listen to what was happening, which I think is an important thing. And then all of them had like really high engagement, whether it was likes or comments. So clearly it was already succeeding. Instagram knew that, and they put it in front of me. So kind of pointing to these as things that caught my attention. It has this caption where it's like, oh, I was stuck at home because Taylor Swift was in town and the traffic was so bad. So I thought I'd cover a Taylor song, which again plays that like, yeah, right. This isn't an accident. This clearly took a lot of work. It has that mashup quality. So you're like, oh, how's he going to pull this off? And then the other thing I was going to say is I don't think it's live. He says, oh, this is me live looping. Maybe it is. I don't believe hardly anyone when they are presenting videos like that. If the sound is really good, especially if they're outside and walking around, I think more artists than you are led to believe record stuff, and then they pull off. Then they have to put the work into figuring out how to make it look as real as possible. So if you can get over that stress by simply recording it first and then figuring out how to make it look live, that's great. Now, this next one is sort of the opposite. It's just a guy in his room. The camera doesn't move at all. It's stationary. But I think this was really effective for me. I'll play it.
I was running forward, but I run off the world someday. Nobody knows, nobody knows. And I was dancing in the rain, I felt alive and I can't complain. But no, take me home, take me home where I belong.
And then just one other thing to show. So I left that part in at the end to show you how consistent he does this things. Very simple production, but almost is probably the same camera angle, almost same room, same wall art. But I think that simplicity really leaves a lot of space for the emotion of his voice. I do like the sort of lo-fi fade that the image has. He has got different hats on, and in the one that caught my eye, he had this blue hat that matched a blue that was in his wall art. So that's another thing you'll probably see in some of these videos, is that there's an attention to color, even if it's fairly subtle. And I guess the whole thing of you being in his room, presumably his bedroom, it does feel like a vulnerable invitation. So I liked that one.
I
I don't know if anyone's ever seen this woman. She is very authentic, very quirky, quite a character. She does make her own original music that comes out like on Spotify and stuff as an official release. But then she also makes these kind of throwaway songs on social that I love. So there's this consistent branding. Every one of these starts the same way. She says, a gentle reminder. She makes a noise. And at the end, she says the same strange thing. And then there's a little song that she makes up that's showcases her talent as a singer, but it's very fun. And it has this kind of like absurdist thing mixed with an inspirational, motivational kind of thing. So I'll play this real quick.
A gentle reminder.
Oh, I should say there's a bad word in here. Content warning.
A gentle reminder. If you wouldn't want to swap lives with somebody, then don't take their fucking advice. And do what works for you and what feels right and true. Shut up. Because that's your business.
So every one of those videos ends with Shaka Khan, love you, ta-ta. So another little hook, consistent branding. Let's see here. If any of you have seen this guy, he does the straight up participatory thing of saying, here's the track, what are you gonna do with it? So check this out. I'll stop it there, but you get the point. It's help me out. And when you do help him out, he now has endless content to post. All the videos you'll see, they're sort of TikTok duets of people adding vocals, end up as Instagram stories, or sometimes the ones he really likes, he'll put in his proper feed. It's definitely got a vibe. Even that sort of 70s font, I feel like works for his sound. The thing I love about this is whenever I see one of his videos pop up, it instantly appeals to my imagination. I can't help but think of melodies, but also what would I write a song about? And like for this one, I just started singing about the Olive Garden, and I haven't recorded it yet, but I want to. But I think this is just a great, I don't know if it's sort of a side hustle. I mean, he puts out proper songs as well, but just a great way of being kind of in a collaborative community of musicians who can help him out on those songs as well. Okay, this one, don't pay so much attention to the pyrotechnic guitar playing. It is pretty amazing. But what caught my eye, and I wanted to point out, is there's a zoom, a very drastic zoom at the beginning. So the camera motion was crucial for me on this one. So you can see the camera just follows him a little bit in and out as he walks. That's kind of the point I want to say. A lot of these things you might be thinking, well, they're cover songs. Of course, people like them in the millions. That's true. I think some of these same techniques can be applied to your own original songs as well. This one is very striking colors. You might notice that her shirt is the same as the couch behind her. The rest of the room is just that stark blue. It's very, very simple and stripped down. I'll play this one for you.
It's dinner time on the moon again, and the candles won't light without oxygen. So I eat by the glow of the world that I left.
And a lot of her stuff's got that geeky science vibe, which I like. This one, if you're saying, wow, these people put a lot of effort into their videos, this guy put a lot of effort into a show promotion. So this is completely throwaway content. That's a lot of fun.
Hi, my name is Dolly Fred and I'm doing a tour in North America. It's gonna be a party. If you wanna have a party, then you should come to my party. It's the best party that I've ever been. Yeah, I'm going to Philadelphia.
Anyways, he goes on and sings about all the different towns. What I like about this as a lesson you could maybe incorporate into your own stuff is the way his body is framed in this is very effective. And then behind him, it's got that sort of lifestyle brand vibe of like, oh, it's an IKEA picture or something. So that stuff does extremely well on Instagram. it can do very well on Instagram, I should say. This one feels very 70s to me, so it immediately speaks to an era. It features the playing, puts all the attention on a single person, and that little light leak at the beginning with the red streaking across the frame is what caught my eye. This one, very bizarre. It looks and feels homegrown. It's sort of lo-fi. And even though it has this kind of, I don't know, retro futuristic technological thing, it also has a lot of nostalgia. So check this one out.
I know that guy.
Yeah?
That previous guy. Show that again.
What's that?
That previous guy.
Oh,
he's from the Dallas area.
Jack Barksdale?
Yeah, Jack Barksdale.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good player.
Yeah, he's I met him a couple of years ago when he was starting out, and I've never seen a young kid so dedicated.
He looks really young, is he?
Yeah, when I met him, he was probably 10 years old, and he's only now starting to look like a guy. I thought it was a girl the first time I saw him. But yeah, he's dedicated.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's a great video.
What is the light leaks reference?
Oh, light leaks. So that this sort of red that you see here streaking, that's it kind of looks like a fade or a phase over the and I might not have done the best job of actually capturing it on my phone, but it just, as soon as the video starts, it kind of trickles across the lens almost and then disappears. So it's just a little bit of a, oh, what's happening? Oh, okay. And it seems like a very sort of, I don't know, 60s, 70s film technique, I guess.
Okay.
So here's this.
Oh, how the gentle wind beckons through the leaves as autumn colors fall.
Let's see. Oh, this one I liked because it has a similar framing to that tour advertisement one, just very centered. She's got a super confident look at the camera. It kind of feels almost like a staged music video, but there's still something about it that's very social in nature. So check this one out.
Y'all women got the melanin dripping, L-O-N-D-O-N, city girl living in the back looking like fire chili pepper, Yoruba girl tougher than imperial leather. He was getting bitter while she was getting better, diamonds all.
And that you saw probably slow camera motion in, nothing like that zoom on the Zeppelin pyrotechnic one, but just some subtle camera movement can go a long way. So I always try to tell people, if you're shooting videos, maybe get a collaborator, a spouse, something to help you out. Although clearly that guy in his bedroom didn't need that. But this one, just going to point out, she's doing something with her hand and whistling at the start. And there's this way the sunshine kind of ends on the wall behind her just as her face starts that caught my eye. And it's very disposable because this is a, hey, I'm getting ready to tour in Europe type video that you presume she's, perfectly fine throwing this content away. This next one, a few things caught my eye. First, the shirt and the fiddle are almost the same color. I like the words appearing up in the negative space in the clouds. More walking. You'll notice many people are walking in these videos. That seems to be very effective. And it's not live. You don't, well, at least I didn't quite know it at first, but as it goes on, you can tell more and more, especially because I think a piano or a guitar comes in about halfway through that is not shown. Oh, and it's also about a specific place and sort of has cultural touch points. So
I met a man going to Omaha. He told me some stories about his son-in-law. He spoke just like your parents in a Western drawl, if you could even call it that. I told him how we hit the Iowa State Fair. I felt a little like an alien out there. It's crazy how much he resembled you.
guess that's the comfort of middle America.
So in recognizing that she's lip syncing, I think that points out an interesting thing where for the past 5 years or so, there's been a lot of talk about how social media can be casual and lo-fi and it doesn't need to look or sound great. That was definitely true. I feel like we're moving to the place where more professional sound and presentation is what's being recommended more by Instagram and TikTok, at least. So again, I guess speaks to putting the pressure on getting the sound to be really good and don't be afraid to lip sync. This one is not lip synced, and I just like this one because it seems like they paid almost no attention to framing the shot at all. So it's very like, oh, we just set up the camera. Here goes.
Do you think they'll ship us off to the mines on Mars and make us work there? If they do, will the towns have bars and amusement stars and a Warby Parker?
Like that he's worried about Warby Parker there. This one's really quick, just very effective and very instant use of the camera kind of tracking across the people. This one is a cover, but I think the technique she's using, she could have done on original as well. It feels almost like a flash mob of one person because I think she's in a subway and she's doing something with the piano lid that's kind of interesting.
This is how I show my love. Made it in my movie parts. Blame it on my ADD, baby.
Here's a guy who just happens to be in a field, because why not?
This is your daily reminder. Ow, ooh, ooh, ooh. There is no destination other than the place that you are standing, baby. Ooh, 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 ooh. Every moment's changing. Don't you get complacent, just advance, oh baby.
This one, if you have a group of people, I feel like this does a great job of making the camera rotate around them. So it has a group dynamic, but each person gets kind of their moment. And then it's in a really great room. And I'll save this comment. 1 second.
You need a minute to commit it like it's all that you got. Another hour doesn't matter if it helps you to stop counting the days that you lost over and over. No one said it's easy, but it's easy to forget what they say. Another hour doesn't matter if it helps you to take back all the days that you lost.
My comment I was holding was that I have a slight suspicion even this is lip synced, even though you can hear the room noise, and maybe I'm crazy and very conspiratorial on this, but it has that super modern, like auto-tuned compressed feeling, but just with some room ambience. But who knows? I still love the video. This one's very simple in presentation. I put anyone can do this, not because anyone can sing like this girl. She's got a lovely voice, but just it's another one of those, hey, we just put the camera up and it worked.
Did I drive you away? I know what you say.
And this one similar, but framed entirely for vertical. The way they set themselves up physically, I think, is great for Instagram and TikTok. I've got just a few more, I think, and then take some questions. I liked this one a lot because before I unmuted it, I saw that kind of dare that seems to be implicit on the screen. Like, hey, are you so short attention span you won't just like take a second to watch this song? And then again, more walking here, and then there's a real focus on the lyrics, which I found kind of refreshing.
Well, my bluff is tied, 'cause I'm no featherweight. But are you fine? We're through the garden gate. Is it you or I don't know? Or do we play charades?
I need all of you to hold on to so we don't fade away.
And it does go on. He plays the whole song. He has the chorus, another verse, etc. So, and clearly that is doing just fine for him to share the entire song. I think this is the last video I had, and what I like is it's more walking. There's a guy smoking as he walks along, and you can see at some point he almost mumbles the song, the harmonies, because he's taking a drag of his cigarette, which makes it feel very real. And yet I am still left with the suspicion that even this is lip synced, despite the fact that there's car noise and a few other, like the crackling of their boots and stuff. So I might be wrong, but check it out.
Door, leave the keys on the island. It's not my fault. You didn't know what goodbye meant. Yeah. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. So pack up your suitcase, dear. I'm just trying to go before the sun goes down. Oh, one more day of going through the motions. Cover me in the ground.
It was probably real. I don't know why I'm so suspicious of everyone, but those were the videos I wanted to point out. And I did all that because I truly do think, for as frustrating and confusing as social is, it still is, and probably the best opportunity for songwriters and artists to get attention. And because of how good these algorithms are, they can get you the right attention if you are consistent in your output. So that was my focus for the day.
All right. Does anybody have any questions?
Oh, I should ask you a question. Did anyone pick up on what every single video had one thing in common?
Vertical view.
That, oh, okay, so two things. Yes, that. But there was another thing. Oh, Michael, I think you said something on mute.
We're good all songs? Younger
than me.
That may be true too. Okay, no, what you want me to reveal the secret?
Yeah.
The only one that broke this rule was the guy who said, hey, write the verse to this, and then just had the instrumental track. Every other video had no edits. They were all single take, one camera, single take, no edits at all. So that speaks to this idea that once you have an edit or cut, you immediately introduce to the viewer or the listener this idea that you're really trying, because you're doing a multicam shoot and you're editing after it's like it puts them in a mode where they're observing the effort. And I think this is all subconscious, but then it feels like an advertisement or a manipulation as opposed to something, you know, real and in the moment. So even though these things are plotted out, rehearsed probably in many cases, they're still trying to present it in a way that feels casual, social, impromptu, and just having that single camera that never cuts is the key to that.
How long do they do the whole song on these, or are these just clips trying to get attention? Or
it kind of runs through all of that. Some of them are as short as 10-15 seconds. It might just be the chorus. The guy in his bedroom with the blue hat, he actually did the pre-chorus and only half of the chorus, and it works well. Other people do the whole song, and on TikTok I think you can be up to 10 minutes now. So they don't all have to be super short.
So what's the objective? Are they just trying to get likes? Or are they trying to get you to go to their website? Or
well, this speaks to maybe some of the marketing funnel thing I was alluding to, but a lot of this, there's a few objectives. If it's reaching strangers, they just want you to watch it, like, and comment, right? Because then that puts that viewer a little closer to them to see their subsequent content. The other thing is that when the more creators, how do I say this? The more content you have, the more frequently you post, you build up this back catalog, which is good for a few reasons. One, it gives you more practice at making these things, so the quality goes up. But when one of your videos does have that moment where it reaches a bunch of people, TikTok and Instagram want to know they can keep people on their platform. So they're more inclined to share stuff by songwriters who put out a bunch of videos. So when someone likes you, they go to your profile and they just binge watch all your content, because ultimately that drives up watch time, which is good for those platforms. So, but as for the objectives of the artist, just getting attention by continuing to do it, bringing people closer and closer to them as fans. And then what I generally recommend artists do is that things that are more oriented towards, hey, go listen to me on Spotify, or sign up for my email list, or buy my new t-shirt or whatever, that those get run as advertisements, specifically to people who've shown like a decent amount of engagement in the video content you've already put out there. So that the types of videos I shared here don't actually ask anything really specifically in terms of you taking an action. Certainly not something that asks you to leave TikTok or Instagram, because now those platforms are going to not want that. So these are really more just outreach, get attention, and then through repetition, get people to be fans, and then through ads, get them to take some action, an off-platform action. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if I explained it very well, but
Do the ads come automatically if you're popular?
well, so the way that these ad platforms work is that you can target all different kinds of audiences. And in this case, I'd say you would build what's called a custom audience in Meta's ad platform, for instance, which runs to Facebook and Instagram. You build a custom audience that consists of people who've watched. You set the metric. It could be 50% of your video, 100% of your video. People who've taken all different kinds of actions. Once they've done that, you add them to this particular audience that you can run an ad to. So that would be what I recommend for that. As far as what it like in terms of getting results per cost, that all comes down to size of the bigger the audience, the cheaper it's going to be to run ads to them. The better the content is, the cheaper it will be to run ads, because these platforms don't want things to be off-putting and feel like an advertisement. So if it's more creative, then it's cheaper for you to run ads to those people.
Good. Any more questions?
For someone that enjoys playing live locally, what's your opinion of CDs?
Oh, I still think they're, I mean, great might be an overstatement, but I still think they're like one of the best ways to spend not much money on a merch item that you can, have some good margin for profit on. As far as how this is me personally, like I don't play nearly as much as I used to, but I tend not to sell many CDs at shows anymore, but I do still sell them online. Surprising, like when I have decent amounts of CD sales are coming in through my web store, and usually because I'm running some kind of sale campaign, or like if I've created some, like I did anyone familiar with the free plus shipping campaign type? You basically say, hey, I'll give you a CD as long as you pay for the shipping costs. And then what I've done through that is they come in to claim that offer, put in their credit card number to pay the whatever $3 or $5 for the shipping. And then I say, hey, before you check out, like, do you want this other CD for $8? And some people take you up on that. And then it's like, after that, it's like, hey, want the t-shirt for 25% off. So that when I've done that, it's still profitable overall, even though I'm giving away the first item, because at least half the people, at least most of the times I've done this type of campaign, more than 50% of the overall people claiming the offer end up buying other merch that they otherwise weren't going to, unless I kind of entice them in with the free offer. So that's another thing you could explore with CDs. Well, question for you, like, how do they sell at your gigs?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not gigging that much. And I imagine I probably sold maybe dozens.
Hmm. I mean,
I think this last week I sold as many CDs as CD Baby has.
which is none now.
That's right.
Right. Yeah, I still set my CD, like my merch booth up every time with CDs, and I have that feeling of dread and then of futility of like, no one's gonna buy these, but it's just another item that gets people to the table, and then they will buy shirts, and I have some poetry books, and what else do I have? Some posters. So some of those, I have a pin set, like 4 buttons. Those things sell way more than the CDs, but I feel like having the CD set up there is still worth it, just to entice people over to look.
Okay, as someone who's kind of in a time warp, how do I make my music tangible?
Tangible? Like, what do you mean?
Like where people will listen to it and actually hear it on a decent system.
Oh, I see. That's a great question. I mean, a lot of these streaming platforms are starting to introduce kind of higher priced, higher definition tiers. But I don't know. I'm not an audiophile, so I'm probably a terrible person to answer that question. Like, I drive my wife nuts because sometimes I actually just listen out of like the speaker of my phone.
Are we audiophiles a dying breed?
Well, I don't think so, because clearly, like Spotify and Amazon, and a few other of the platforms that have put an emphasis on higher quality audio recently, throughout this kind of, I don't know, pre-proto recession we've had, have also like done massive layoffs and closed a lot of programs that were in development they were working on. So the fact that they pressed ahead with the high quality audio makes me think, well, enough people care, and they really do think enough people will pay the extra money to get that it was worth keeping, even as they cut all these other things. So maybe not. Oh, when you asked the question about tangible, though, the first thing I thought was like vinyl records, which are generally so costly to make up front, but there's definitely that market for them, and that's like the ultimate tangible thing.
Olive tree is cast in this shaky shadow on Lazarus. The same familiar face, the same familiar ghost. Oh, what's waiting for us after this? Ask Lazarus, go ask Lazarus. Or you wake up one day and have to admit it's over between us now, it's time to quit. The more you brace yourself, the more you're broken, don't you know? But what happens to us after this? Averages. Sometimes the miracle you choose is different from the one that's done to you. No writings by Pliny or Tacitus ever adequately capture this. How every empire's got a line beyond which you don't go. So what's waiting